So panel 2, the topic. Estaba hablando de tecnología.
We're speaking about technology, AI.
How are you? Thank you so very much. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our Secretary General of the CTU, Sir Rodney Taylor. If you could kindly stand so that we can reconocerte. Él llegó ahora mismo.
He arrived right now. Do you speak Spanish?
Never mind. Welcome. Good to have you. So we're moving to our next panel. We've been speaking about la inteligencia artificial. We've been speaking about tecnología, but we have to speak about security. Looking at cybersecurity and infrastructure resilience, protecting the Caribbean's digital future. I hand over to our moderator, Mr. Tariq Mohammed, chair of the Caribbean ICT Youth Network, and his panelists. The speakers are Miss Federica Tortorella, Youth Advisory Board member for the Resilience Project at SubOptic Foundation, La República Dominicana, and Mr. Daniel Perea Núñez, Director General of the Computer Network Security Office. Please welcome them.
Good afternoon again, everyone. For the Caribbean, cybersecurity and network resilience are critical in our increasingly digital world. Our region's dependence on digital services in areas such as tourism, finance, healthcare, and beyond make it a target for cyber attacks such as ransomware and other disruptions. Strong, robust cybersecurity practices are therefore essential to protect these critical services. Quite apart from cybersecurity, the Caribbean's vulnerability to climate-related disasters and other network disruptions make network resilience equally crucial. It ensures that critical communications and emergency services can withstand both cyber incidents as well as physical threats, enabling effective disaster response and economic continuity. A unified regional approach is key. Collaborations and discussions such as those that we have today through bodies and agencies such as the CTU are critical to share best practices, build capacity, and fortify our digital infrastructure. This afternoon, we're joined by two key panelists today that are involved in both the network resilience as well as cybersecurity spaces to explore further. Firstly, we have Ms. Federica Tortorella, the Youth Advisory Board member for the Resilience Project at the SubOptic Foundation, and she's from the Dominican Republic, as well as Mr. Daniel Perea Núñez, the Director General of the Computer Network Security Office in Cuba. Federica, Daniel, buenas tardes. So I'd like to start off this afternoon by actually inviting Ms. Federica. So Federica, as a youth involved in the SubOptic Foundation, can you tell us more about some of the work that you're currently involved in?
Ok, thank you very much. Voy a hablar español y bueno, no me voy a...
I'm going to speak in Spanish. For me, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Federica. I'm part of the Youth Advisory Board member of the Resilience Project from Dominican Republic. We were talking about research and awareness on resilience, digital resilience. 15 minutes are going to be very short, but my other colleagues have to speak as well. But I'm going to show you what we have been doing, and my presentation is going to call for action, so you join us. You're going to have other opportunities to know what we are doing, because we need Caribbean voices for the new generations in the digital infrastructure world. So start, I would like to make some questions, to ask some questions, and I would like you to answer them. I'm going to do this in Spanish. Have you ever thought about what actually keeps you do to use your cell phones, for example, send messages, good morning, or maybe you're at the beach Also, when we talk about sustainability of the communication network, what do you think about this? And for me, it's important to know what we can learn from the atmosphere phenomena that take place on the Caribbean. Maybe you can answer these questions. I would like to ask our host.
This question, I would like actually to ask you to tackle the second one. What's the first thing that comes in your mind when it comes to telecommunication network sustainability?
I think I consider energy. Whenever I think of sustainability, huge networks, telecommunication, I think of large systems. For it to be sustainable, I want to know how efficient is this energy use? Is this renewable? Are we doing our best in that regard?
Excellent. Aquí también voy a preguntar.
I'm going to ask a man, what do you think about behind this internet connection you have in your cell phones? What physical components allow you to be connected? There are different physical components and also human components that are behind this process. And I think that we could talk about the communication infrastructure that is behind this, from the wires and also the clients that are using this. And I think that there is a lot of talent from people and the science that is behind all these technology professionals that are thinking how we can use better and user-friendly with environment. And I think that maybe the solution is focused on that. Have you done your homework? Energy, human component. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit more about these aspects. And you were talking about key issues, the energy, the footprint, the carbon footprint, and also the collaboration for an effective use of energy. And today, my presentation, I'm going to talk about these issues.
Sesión SubOptic
I'm part of the SubOptic Foundation that comprises different sectors of the digital world. And what we do, we create and raise awareness. Especially, we are focused on helping the new generations of professionals. The first question I asked was, what do you think that is behind the connection on internet? And this is part of a list of the components that are behind the internet. We were talking about the apps and what is developed. But there are different physical components in this. For example, underwater wires, also internet exchange points.
Deberíamos hablar también.
And also we have to talk about presence points, among others. And you have to understand that behind this message that you sent, the email, there is an important component. It is beyond the physical component. The second question has to deal with sustainability. And the energy is important in this. And in the last few years, people are being concerned about carbon footprint, but mainly at the beginning, the conversation was focused on other things.
El agua, para el tema del enfriamiento de los equipos, que la energía, que
the energy, whether it's renewable or not. But then again, we took to the task of confirming, why the underwater cables were not included in these studies, and it is because generally the carbon print from them is insignificant, and therefore it was not included in some studies. However, we have seen that the underwater cables were not included in these surveys, and that we also found that there was no cooperation up until 2021 in respect of the industry in order to see what better practices on sustainability could be implemented in the operations and in the entire value chain of the distribution chain. And therefore, in 2021, the SubOptic Foundation that had been established that year together with UC Berkeley, they partnered with each other and established the Sustainable Subsea Network. This project brings together the industry and the academia in order to identify, best sustainability practices. So this project was founded by the Internet Society Foundation, and then we have this report on best practices on sustainability of the underwater cables. And there you have a QR code, and if you can scan it, and if it doesn't work, please let me know, and then I'll be pleased to send you the link. Now, the third question that I had asked is, have you thought how there is something that characterizes us in the Caribbean is, the weather events. And these weather events, have an impact on the digital structure. We asked ourselves a similar question in our foundation. And then we conducted a survey, and we found that most of the islands in the Caribbean have a 56% broadband penetration. And the fixed band penetration as compared to other regions is relatively low. However, we have, irrespective of the island or the region, we have certain challenges that are common. For example, the energy supply, as well, and diversification, regional connectivity and logistical costs are very high too, and at a commercial level, that also has an impact on the implementation or the rollout of cables. There's also great vulnerability associated with natural disasters, as I mentioned before. And there's also this question of, I have prepared my presentation in English, and that is a public debt, it's very high in some countries, and as a result, the levels of FDI does not come in the same way because incentives are not there, and for some, among other reasons. I think one is better here. So as we look at this picture, and we find a number of wishes, that we share in the Caribbean, a number of challenges, we share in the Caribbean, and these challenges may discourage the deployment of additional digital infrastructure. This is a map of existing cables in the Caribbean, referring to underwater cables. There was a boom in 2000, but then this boom dwindled. So by 2025, and there's only two cables that were reported that will be rolled out, by 2025. You have 1 year, and then the theoretical in theory, a cable lasts for 25 years, and so the Caribbean needs some renewable in terms of the water cable. We have a lot of cables, but many of these cables have already completed the 25 years of theoretical useful life. And another point we have seen in our foundation is to date, no comprehensive study has been conducted on these topics, and this is associated with the comments were made by the colleagues in the previous panel. In order to have AI, you need an infrastructure, and we have a challenge here. We have an infrastructure in place, that needs to be addressed, from different perspectives. And this led us to a study that will be published before the end of this year, which is called Strategic Network Resilience. Now, the purpose of this study was interview over 700 experts from different sectors in the Caribbean, and main findings are as follows. Strategic resilience has an important human dimension, and this is connected with what the gentleman said before. Internet is not just an antenna and a cell phone, but a team of people who are acting in cooperation and supplying their knowledge and expertise. So, relations and cooperation, and in particular trust, are critical for projects to be executed. Third, there is a need for better communication. We need to improve and expand communications, and in particular, emphasis must be placed on the critical infrastructure and its importance. There's also need for education, not only in terms of technical skills, but also raising awareness. And of course, resilience needs to be, the changes in resilience must be comprehensive, and it needs to cover all of the aspects of the infrastructure. It must be progressive. And then last but not least, this concept of strategic resilience means that beyond being an next responders, that is to, rather than being reactive to a problem, we need to be the first responders. That is, we need to be more proactive, more preventive, because challenges will always be there. But if from day one you have a preventive approach, and that is when the local disaster hits in, and that is, it's not the same that you are repairing a cable that's been pierced, than to have a mechanism in place to make sure that our resilience is easier to address. This is just a recap. Our foundation is very much concerned with the research projects and education and awareness and infrastructure, and we have looked at a report on the best practices on sustainability for the water and the cables, that is energy, carbon print, and then the second point is the studies on strategic resilience in the Caribbean, and this study will be reported, published before this year's. And another important project where our foundation focuses on attracting the new generation of professionals, and that is the certification on global digital infrastructure. This year, we launched our first program in the world that helps students address technical, economic, and geopolitical topics. And these topics are associated with the evolution of the internet infrastructure globally, with special emphasis on data centers and on the water cables. So there was emphasis to attract the young generation to the topics of digital infrastructure. And this may not be fashionable now, but with the AI requiring faster internet service. So we are seeing more and more people talking about data center and energy because, and we also see that the big tech companies have been joined and have been joining the market. That is Google Metal and are already deploying the cables and data centers. If you're interested to hear more about SubOptic or foundation, and in particular, if you're interested in participating actively in these activities that we are running for new generations, I have my QR code or the Google form so that you can drop in your contact information. That we want to build a database of individuals who are interested, because our idea in our foundation is to continue to run research projects and impart education so that digital infrastructure can be accessible to everyone. I will stay behind and the rest of the day and the week, I'll be available for any questions. And if your QR doesn't work, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Federica. That was an
Gracias, Federica.
agree that a holistic, proactive, strategic approach towards resilience is, the ideal strategy that we should take. Also glad to hear about the multi-dimensional certification, and I started filling out the form actually that you put up on the screen. So I encourage some others to also fill that out.
No importa la edad, pueden hacerlo, o sea, no hay que ser, háganlo, o sea,
It don't matter, also you don't have to be, so you're more than welcome to join me here.
So I'd like to ask my next question to Daniel. So Daniel, based on your experience at the suit in managing critical incidents and protecting national infrastructure, what capabilities do you believe are already established in your country? And which of these could most effectively be strengthened through technical collaboration among Caribbean states?
This is a good question. The answer, team, we have faced different challenge on cybersecurity. This has allowed us to consolidate the way of behaving in the face of these problems. We have had to create and develop infrastructure and technological capacities in the 24 hours a day, the 7 days of the week, to detect these threats in real time. And there have been many problems. These problems are repeated in our infrastructures. There is a method of automation of processes, of common incidents, and also the active methods in these infrastructures. And we are going to look for an institutional coordination between the companies of the sector. However, we have had that a country can face this type of threats by itself. And in Cuba, in the region, there are commitment patterns. And I know that these incidents are common, for example, ransomware, phishing campaigns, vulnerability exploitation campaigns. And in our infrastructures, we have this. This is going to enable that in the region, these indicators can be shared. That, in a way, we are going to be more active in these issues. There are different data and also these problems are present in our infrastructures, because we always say that we're going to carry out a conference, the final client is the most vulnerable one due to the development of AI and also cybersecurity issues. And the detection methods must be updated with these new changes. And second of all, we think that it's important to carry out joint exchanges with the teams. that have had computer incidents in the region, but also share experiences and motives in these areas. At the beginning, I was talking about the ransomware issues, how we can face this ransom campaign. There are some countries that use a different methodology and we use another on how we can detect and restore information, recover information. And also our experiences, so others countries do not have the same one as we had. And in the region, this is going to be an important issue. Another issue is working in the way to share the classification of these incidents. So there are different classification processes, and in relation to other countries, this may be a problem. Maybe there are incidents in different regions. They have other concepts. Or maybe we have to agree and to work together on these issues. Because if there is a cooperation framework between these responses, the team of responses on these issues. And to end, I would like to say that digital resilience,
También de la confianza.
and also it is about coordination and a shared vision. And if we are able to build these infrastructures, we are going to protect our infrastructures, but also guarantee a safer and more safe digital future in the region.
Thank you, Daniel. So, I do agree.
Yo estoy de acuerdo contigo, realmente no podemos ver esto como de una manera aislada. La formación de capacidades y mejorar las condiciones a la luz de la inteligencia artificial son elementos y por supuesto necesitamos compartir de datos e incidentes entre los diferentes países a través de un marco de colaboración. Le doy las gracias por ello. También soy consciente del tiempo y que empezamos tarde también. Desafortunadamente, yo estoy seguro de que ustedes muchos tienen preguntas, pero yo espero que nuestros panelistas se quedarán por aquí después de la sesión y estarán por aquí en los próximos días. Excelente, por lo tanto, ellos van a estar aquí en los próximos 2 días. Entonces, para concluir, quiero dar las gracias a nuestros 2 panelistas, así como al CTU, por haber propiciado este evento, lo cual nos indica que la ciberseguridad y la resiliencia de las redes son elementos
Points of views. So thank you very much. And the QR code as well as the presentation that Federica shared will also be placed on the CTU's event page on the website. So if you're interested, it's on the slide, right? And her email is also on the slides, so you can make full use of her while she's here. For the persons that are joining us online, sorry you can't make use of that, but her emails and her slides will be online. So please feel free to reach out to them. And let's give a round of applause to our panelists.